Shalom, everybody. This is Rabbi Stuart Darman from Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. And I wanted to share something with you today that popped up in this week's Shulchan Shalanu that I found so interesting that I just had to share it with you. So if you hold on a minute, I want to show you something from our Torah reading. And then I want to show you how it aligns with something that came out in the newspaper in the UK today. This is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime situation, and I couldn't bear not to share it with you. So here we're looking at Shulchan Shalanu, which has many different sections. It always begins with the Torah reading. And as I've told you, Shulchan Shalanu is our Shabbat home discussion guide, which comes to your house every week on Thursday night. It's already been delivered this evening, and it's meant for you to discuss around your table. Now, this week's Parashat talks all about rulership in Israel, and we read here about kings, and it says about a king, when he has come to occupy the throne of his kingdom, he is to write a copy of this Torah for himself in a scroll from the one the Kohanim and the Leviim use. So the king needed to write a handwritten copy of the Torah. Verse 9, it is to remain with him, and he is to read in it every day as long as he lives, so that he will learn to fear Adonai his God and keep all the words of this Torah and these laws and obey them, so that he will not think he is better than his kinsmen, and so that he will not turn aside either to the right or to the left from the mitzvah. In this way, he will prolong his own reign and that of his children in Israel. So we've got this. The kings of Israel, who were allegedly the supreme rulers, needed to copy the Torah by hand, read it every day, and obey it. In other words, they were not over the Torah. This is a big deal. Now, in England, in the UK, in the 17th century, there was a man named Samuel Rutherford. And we want to look at something about Samuel Rutherford here because it's fascinating. And it ties in with that Torah passage. But hang in there. I'm going to tell you something from the 21st century in the UK that is going to blow your mind a little bit today. So hang in there. Here's what we read about Samuel Rutherford. Holy study is perhaps the central ritual of Jewish life. For millennia, ours have been the people of the book. In today's Parashat, we read that even rulers, kings, must be ruled by the book. In the 17th century, Samuel Rutherford, a Scotsman, wrote Lex Rex, a crucial book on this subject. The book on Amazon is 630 pages long. It's considerable. Those guys in the 17th century didn't fool around. Here is what Amazon says about it. A man commanding unjustly and ruling tyrannically has in that no power from God. That's what Rutherford said. When Lex Rex was written, the Reformation in England and Scotland was in crisis. The English Civil War had just begun when Charles I attempted to impose Roman Catholic ritual on the church and asserted his divine right as king to overrule Parliament. Divine right. God gives me the right as king to overrule Parliament. Against these grandiose claims, the Scottish pastor Samuel Rutherford wrote a book and changed Western political philosophy forever, as it led to the thinking that enabled the American Revolution. In this very learned work, Rutherford shows from Scripture, from our Torah, from classic authors and scholastic theologians, that the king is not above the law, but that when the king violates it flagrantly, the people have the right to resist him, even to the point of war. The title Lex Rex is Latin for law is king. Divine right theorists had said that the king was the law, but Rutherford reverses this and shows that natural law is above the king, and thus there are times when citizens can and must obey God rather than man. That is fascinating. But something else is fascinating that I want to show you, and then I'm going to let you go because I know you got things to do. So hold on a moment. This came out in today's newspaper, The Guardian, in the UK. Let's just look at this. Here it is. Prince Andrew allegations. Met Chief, that is the chief of the Metropolitan Police in London, says, quote, no one is above the law. Her name is Dame Cressida Dick, and she says the force will have to be watching developments in U.S. civil case brought by Virginia Giuffre. Now, this is fascinating. She is quoting from Torah, although she probably doesn't know it. She's quoting from Samuel Rutherford, though she probably doesn't know it. And she's quoting it the very week where we read that passage in Parashat Shoftim. She doesn't know that either. So these are the kind of fascinating things that pop up when we read Shulchan Shalana together. So I'm going to show you one more thing that I'd like you to consider, and then I'm going to let you go because, like I said, you got things to do. So maybe you want to subscribe or at least get a free copy of Shulchan Shalana. So I always like to make that possible. So if you look at this, it says www.interfaithfulness.org/Shulchan. That is the address that you can use, www.interfaithfulness.org/Shulchan. And if you go to that page, you can subscribe. And I hope you do. Other people do, and they're enjoying it. In 4 years, I've lost maybe 1 or 2 subscribers. That blows my mind. I'd like you to subscribe, but you can at least go to that page and get yourself a free copy of Shulchan Shalana, and then print it out, pass it out, and talk it out, because it is something worth talking about. You'll find fascinating stuff like I just gave you today, and I had to share it with you. So I just want to say bye-bye for now. Thank you for being with us here at Shulchan Shalana, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. Shalom for now.